issues of custody over the years, because of being a minister. When I got into ministry, I ended up dealing with lots of people who have many family problems, custody problems, trouble with children, and stuff like that. So you end up again in and out of court, in and out of court, in and out of court. Here in Connecticut, I've over 7 years now, 7 years going on 8. I've dealt with well, maybe a dozen or more different cases, but at least 5 custody type of things that involve children and parents and stuff like that. All very different, and I would include yours in the sense of we've discussed it and talked about it and looked at it. But I've never been to court with you. I've been to court with other people, and I've been into different courts.
We can change that.
Well, we may. And I've been into different courts here in the state, and found them very, very different, and the persons who I've dealt with very, very different.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I actually helped as an advocate with somebody in the Waterbury court, and I was just using my own background that I gained from my own case to help this person. And I found that court there, I was in there probably 4 or 5 times with this person, ran so much differently that it was actually, considering it was court and it was family court and it was a custody case, it was a pleasure in comparison to what I've been dealing with here and watching here. I found that we had a couple different judges, but really listened, allowed advocates to be heard, allowed both parties to actually speak and finish their sentences and think about what was being said. What do you call it, when you have to go down and speak to the family matters.
Right.
Well, it was much faster, and they really listened to you, and if you wanted to bring somebody in that was helping you, they let you do that. It was a much quicker process, a much more logical process, and it was a much more emotionally easier process, because they really listened and tried to pay attention and read the documents and think about what was going on.
It's like living on different planets.
It was.
Well, my hope was, and in case the Chief Justice sees this again, I happen to know where she got her education. I had looked it up, and out of Boston, her legal degree, and I felt maybe that she would be sensitive enough to at least get in touch. And because I know she was at one time, I believe, in charge of the family courts, and I heard, I don't know for sure, that she was one of the ones that was trying to institute some change in there, because I guess family court here in Connecticut was worse than it is now. And in one area, I found that to be unbelievable. I mean, in fact, I'll say it. I mean, I've been up the Norwich court, which with a case that lasted 1.5 years, is still going on. Okay, where we could have been on the Oprah Winfrey show. The violation of the young lady's rights were unbelievable. As constitutionally, she could have taken that court, judges, lawyers, and people involved. Really down the pike, and she may still, okay, because there are certain things I don't think the young lady realizes, the violations of her civil rights, and when that gets nasty and that gets into years of fighting, if you can work something out.
You hope we can work something out, and it's such an egregious situation, and you said it in Norwich, and I've done some investigating, and I've read some other family court transcripts in Norwich and other courts, and I'm sorry to say this one here is horrendous. And I've had some other people out of this area, also civil rights attorneys, and judges, look at my case and read some of the transcripts and look at some of the decisions where a judge here actually wrote right on an order. You are no longer allowed to file any more motions in family court.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you can't do that. It's a constitutional
law.
As
as we were going to get down to this,
I'm sorry.
I wasn't going to. I know about that, and I was going to talk about that.
I just say I've had other people in other area in the legal system that are just so amazed or dismayed at it. You don't know where to turn next. And if you look at some of these situations, mine in particular, there's no logical reason. There's no legal reason. There's no abusive reason. There's no neglect reason. There's no reason other than somebody in the justice system got angry at what I did or that I proved my case. There's nothing else.
Well, I wanted to say that before, in the 1800s, the custody was only given to men.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. There was a time when, the custody was given to men because of property rights and stuff like
Okay.
that with the children. And then it changed, and all of a sudden, custody became the sole situation of women because they were supposedly better at bringing up better caretakers of the child.
Well,
Okay.
I'm not saying that it should be only the men or only the moms or only the dads. It's really all about what's in the best interest of the child. But
Well, see,
short of being a terrible abuser or murderer or whatever the case may be, no child should be kept from both their parents.
well, the new wave of the 90s was the best interest of the child. That is what's supposed to happen. The child's best interest is at heart, and whatever the difficulty between parents are, that's supposed to be set aside, and the interest of the child is supposed to be predominant. And of course, with your situation, we don't believe that it is in the best interest of the child, and and I don't know, many of my supporters out there know that I can be very tough on what I believe is right and wrong, even with myself. If I didn't, and we didn't think that it was in the best interest of your child to have you visitating, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Oh, I know that.
You know that.
I know
you
you.
know that.
Yeah,
We wouldn't be
absolutely.
sitting here. Well, I mean, we know that, and we know there's situations where we don't believe that the parent of certain children should be near their children. And I would be the first to step inside and say, no, this is no good for the child. And in fact, I'm going through one of those right now on one of the areas, and it's a shame. But there are people who shouldn't have their
be
kids.
parents, so no matter
They
what.
shouldn't have their
Absolutely.
kids. But aside from that, if there isn't anything, if there's a disagreement between two adults in a marriage and stuff, or whether they're married or not married, that should have no interest in the child's upbringing. Who should see him? Very difficult to deal with, yes, visitation, and there can be all, but still,
You do it.
you
You do it.
You do it. Well, I was trying to tell you that until the 1970s, most states encouraged or allowed a maternal preference. Okay, and again, it was mommy got the kids. Okay, prior to the 1800s, it was daddy got the kids, mommy didn't. Then it changed, and mommy got, okay? Well, and they call that the tender years doctrine, and mothers almost always receive custody, almost no matter what. And what happened was, eventually, many of the states found these things to be what? Unconstitutional.
True.
Okay, so gender-neutral custody had replaced, and so there was a decision, the Reed decision, and things changed. Now, this is what people don't understand. Federal court can intervene.
Yes.
And one of the discussions we were going to have, and we tried to explain to the Chief Justice, is you've got a statement that you already said on a document that an individual clearly put down there that you have no right to appeal. Well, it's outrageous.
It's outrageous. It's
Every civil rights lawyer you
civil rights law,
talk to,
constitutional. Everyone I've talked to and looked at it
they
has
say,
been outraged.
You got to be out of your mind.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is what we found with that court up there. And I feel bad for the Chief Justice because I think she should do something about it. Because our prior case over there, a year, everything was unconstitutional. We could take that case and we could be on the Oprah Winfrey show. It was so abusive that was done to this young
Mine could
lady.
be a book. It could be a case study.
Well, maybe
At this
it
point.
may be, okay?
And again, like I said before, if there weren't so many decisions that were so unconstitutional or against civil rights, and too many parties with their own agendas getting their own opinions in there, my ex, regardless of what I feel about him, and I alone probably could have